Republicans do have an advantage in early vote numbers. When the early vote come in, it's going to look a little bit different than 2020, and that's scary.
I think the biggest challenge, if I was Trump, is since Dobbs, we've outperformed in every election, significantly.
Kamala Harris wins by more than 2-1, actually, maybe even more than that among senior women. It's a big, big spread.
At the end of the day, we're going to have more votes than Donald Trump.
No, you're not. Democrats are now admitting the early voting numbers are looking scary for their side. Here's MSNBC's Jen Psaki and another individual, Obama's former campaign advisor, clipped over for us from Gunther Engelman, who shared this on MSNBC. Looks a little bit nervous out there.
Okay, what's their biggest concern right now if you're the Harris team?
Well, look, I think it's a couple things. The early vote numbers are a little scary, and you and I have been texting back and forth. Republicans didn't do what they did last time. Last time Trump said don't early vote, and so they didn't. Republicans do have an advantage in early vote numbers. When the early vote come in, it's going to look a little bit different than 2020, and that's scary.
Okay, what's their biggest concern?
It's going to look a little different. That's scary for them. Republicans are turning out. Now, we also had this report. This is James Blair, Trump's director, came out and says, you know, that New York Times Siena poll that we looked at says this is ridiculous, okay? Their numbers are off. They're just picking a Democratic constituency to poll.
I want to read this from Nate Cohn. This is on the New York Times polling that I just showed our viewers here. Across these final polls, white Democrats were 16% likelier to respond than white Republicans. That's a larger disparity than our earlier polls this year, and it's not much better than our final polls in 2020, even with the pandemic over. It raises the possibility that the polls could underestimate Mr. Trump yet again. We do a lot to account for this, but in the end, there are no guarantees. How do you read that?
I think it's covering. I think that they know where things stand. Look, in all of those polls, in all the battleground states, I heard Carl before this talking about the recalled vote, they've set the electorate to the left of 2020, which doesn't comport with what we know, which is that all of these electorates have moved to the right, just on a registration-eligible electorate basis itself. And obviously, we see that starting to manifest in the early voting patterns. So I think that they're sort of putting some cover out there because they're going to underrepresent President Trump's support. What they essentially are saying there is, we got too many Democrats in the survey. We don't have enough Republicans. We know that, but we're going to publish these numbers on the eve of the election anyway.
And they're doing a lot of that is what it seems like. There was that other poll from Iowa that they're just thrilled about, and it was hilarious. I was watching some of CNN last night, and Anderson Cooper and all of them like, whoa, a new poll. It's like, God, you guys are really thirsty for some good news. That's how desperate you are. That's how upset you are that you have one random poll from Iowa and you think there's going to be some Kamala resurgence or something. You can even see it here. Here's Gavin Newsom. He got asked about this. He's like, yeah, no, it's amazing. I'm like reinvigorated
Right now, I feel it's interesting. I've been on a journey like most people, feeling great, feeling stressed, feeling doubtful. The last 2 days, I don't know what it is. I think it's maybe the dust settling after Madison Square Garden, seeing how that went, like kind of a roller coaster. But something's happened the last few days, and I'm telling you, that Des Moines Register poll.
Now, he's a very expressive guy. He's kind of, doing these things a lot, but he's really elevating it right here. And you can kind of see the fear in his eyes right there. Can't you just see it? Even just that random pause. Kind of fear, like, oh, crap, we're in big trouble. He's waiting for the dust to settle from Madison Square Garden. What are you talking about? Biden already came out and called everybody garbage on Trump's side, and that put that to bed a long time ago. Okay, that was just done. Because one guy was a comedian making a joke. The other guy was the president of the United States. Even if he is demented currently, he's still the president. So that's nothing. And you think that's going to be dispositive here, Gavin Newsom? Yeah, roller coaster, baby. Up and down, roller coaster. Yeah, like with my campaign manager's wife.
I mean, I don't know. I don't expect Iowa necessarily going in the blue column, but it says something to me that is of outsized importance potentially in terms of the outcome of this race. So I'm feeling honestly much better than I was even 24 hours ago. The last few days.
What do you think it's saying?
I think the biggest challenge for if I was Trump, the reason I wouldn't want to be Trump right now, is since Dobbs, we've outperformed in every election significantly. And I'm talking about Colorado Springs, Jacksonville, Florida, special elections, not just the 2022. Number one. Number two,
abortion,
women,
man, they need it.
55% of the vote in those swing states, which is significant. Suburban women vote. And young men, where Trump has put so much time and energy and sort of the bro culture, everything else, they don't vote at those numbers. And I think suburban women generally, and I think it's reflected perhaps in that poll, there's something going on, and that, to me, could be determinative.
Doesn't he look just freaked right there in his body language? No, it's just like, Something's off all right there, Gavin. And I think it's your prospects for the White House. So grasping there. Now, he is right. In 2022, we were all prognosticating a red wave on that one. And that was right after Dobbs. And then it was not good because of the Dobbs decision. And the massive turnout of women, presumably, is what caused that red wave to fizzle. So theoretically, that could happen again. And I'm trying to identify plausible excuses or justifications if they claim they won. What would it be, right? What is their fake propaganda narrative that they always will drag up? Well, it's abortion. It's going to be the same thing in 2022. This cascade of women voters coming out. She wins. They'll likely say that is what happened. But the polls are being presented to us, even though they're highly concerning. So, for example, this was the Iowa poll that came out, and Ann Selzer was hitting the airwaves all over the place last night to try to justify her polls, this poll. And she showed up with Mark Halperin, and he asked her specifically, these crosstabs seem a little bit strange. Like you just picked a bunch of Democrats and then you polled them. And she got asked about the methodology here by Mark.
Right. Okay. So Noah, are you able to put up that tweet? Maybe it's up and I can't see it because
It's
I'm
up.
on my, it's up. All right. Ann, are you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay. Could you just go through and say what you think about those criticisms?
Well, this is in a format that's a little difficult for me to see. What does this D represent and the R represent?
D, they're saying that, and again, he says, read through the Seltzer crosstabs.
Yeah.
So they're saying that they know that this poll shows, and again, it's 3% more Democrats than Republican, whereas the electorate last time was 8% more
see.
Republican. Indy's voting Democrat +4, whereas last time they voted for +7, +4.
Yeah, so the second number is the 2020 exits number, and the current number, the first number, are from her crosstabs. So that's the makeup of the poll, and the second number is how things were historically speaking. So historically speaking, the electorate is R+8. Her sample size was D+1. So sounds like the sample size doesn't match the exits at all. It says senior women were D+35 in her sample, but in exit polls, they were +6. So why the change? Senior men were R+32 in 2020. So they all flipped now. It's R+2. What? So those numbers are off. White women, she has them up 17 points. Big difference there. Suburbs swapped 26 points. What the heck are these numbers?
So they're saying if you compare what you have with what happened in 20, according to the exit polls, it's way too big a change across all these groups in a uniform way towards pro-Harris as opposed to Trump.
Yeah. Well, this is the first time I'm seeing this. And so it's sort of against my nature to think I understand everything that this is saying. And I haven't cross-checked these numbers to know how that actually pans out.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say that it is clear that senior women are an advantage to Kamala Harris in our poll. Kamala Harris wins by more than 2-1, actually, maybe even more than that among senior women. It's a big, big spread. So I don't know.
All right. So I listened to that whole interview, and a lot of people came on and challenged her on it, including Newt Gingrich and many others. Feels to me like it's a push poll, like it was something that was very favorable. She probably wouldn't have ordinarily published it if it was like 6 months ago, but because it's so close, publishes it, gets a bunch of attention, gives the Democrats some final hope in the election. So scary times for them. Here was another breakdown you can see over on NBC. They're using their average of the poll, and they're showing Kamala Harris is in a better situation than we saw with Real Clear Politics and other locations, saying that Trump's up in Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, but Harris is up in the blue wall, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, and then picks up Nevada, which would be a victory. If all that comes out true, Kamala Harris emerges as the president. But they're very upset with Elon and others who are helping Trump secure a victory because the Trump coalition is looking good. And for anybody who's even skeptical about Trump, I think it's probably helping. You've got RFK Jr., you have Elon Musk, JD Vance is coming into his own. You've got guys like Vivek, you've got Tulsi Gabbard, not to mention, and many others, right, who are all coming together to lead this dream team of American excellence. And so they're upset about it. So the government bureaucrats, most of these people have just worked in government their whole lives, including the senator, who's now, she works in some private sector stuff as a commentator, but she was a government senator. This guy, Steele, has been in politics his whole life. So you can see here they are talking about how Elon is so dumb.
But this group of mega donors, bigger donors than we ever have seen, the likes of Elon Musk, who's campaigning more and harder than any business.
Did he donate? Elon's donated more than George Soros to American politics. Is that right? Elon's donated more than Mark Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg dumped in like $400 million in 2020, like $500 million that we know about. I don't think Elon's come close to that, to my knowledge.
Person who might end up with an official or unofficial role role in a Donald Trump administration. What do you think about all this, and what are people telling you?
Well, I think it's really scary territory. You know, we have some billionaires in this country, and if you look at the top...
You had J.B. Pritzker come out and talk at the DNC, who's a billionaire.
10 donors to Donald Trump. They've given over $1 billion to him.
Just the top 5.
Yeah. I mean, and that was not counting how much more Musk has spent. Musk is in Pennsylvania. He thinks because he can do rockets and electric cars that he can figure out how to get people to vote. But he's got a hard assignment because the people he's trying to get to vote are low propensity voters. They're people that don't vote all the time. In fact, this bro thing that they've done, you know, let's get the young men. Well, the reason they're bros is because they don't care about voting.
Yeah,
they're
not leaving your
disengaged.
base. You're not going to vote.
Yeah, they're really hard to get to the voting place.
Wow. So she's coming after the bros, which is like a personal attack. I am hopeful that all of our bros out there let her know that we don't appreciate her condescension our direction, and we vote accordingly harder than ever. He might be able to do rockets, but getting stupid MAGA people is what she said. Okay, low propensity voters who are bros. She just called us all stupid morons because we listen to podcasts and we think it's impressive when Elon catches 20-story building rockets out of the sky. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So she's upset about it. She'd rather sit around and talk on MSNBC about equity and diversity or whatever. So bitter that Elon is just crushing out there, and they're responding. Now, they posted this. We'll listen to a little bit of it. I think it's kind of it's interesting to hear what the other side is thinking about this. But here is what they posted on Sunday from the Kamala people. They say the election is almost here, and they posted these videos. It's Jen O'Malley and it's Kamala's campaign person who's telling us everything's great. All right, just relax, Democrats, calm down.
Hey everyone, I'm Jen O'Malley Dillon, back here with you to give you an update, this time on election night. We feel very, very good about where we are.
You do?
As we look at our wide map of our 7 battleground states, we see that early vote is exactly as we'd like to see it. More and more people are voting, younger, more diverse voters are voting in all of our battleground states. And our organization in every one of our battleground states is kicking ass. It is volunteers, knocking on doors, making calls, reaching our voters to make sure they have everything they need to go vote. There are still a lot of people out in the country and in our battleground states that haven't made up their mind yet. As we've looked at our data, those undecided voters in the last week in particular are breaking for the vice president in double-digit margins. We know there are still more undecideds left out there, and they are more open to hearing from the vice president and supporting her. So we got to keep doing the work, and we're going to close it out with them. All right, so let's talk about election night.
All right.
Don't be anxious if the race isn't called exactly when the polls close in your state. Georgia and North Carolina, we're going to get those results earlier than we get in other parts of the country. But there's also going to be states that don't even start counting ballots until later in the day, and it's going to take a while to count them because we're going to have so many people turning out. This is a journey we are all going to be on together, and we're going to stay together as we see in some states we're up, in some states maybe votes come in and we look a little behind, and it's going to shift over the night and in the hours after the polls close.
Yeah.
But you're going to stay with us.
When water
we know
mains
every
break.
single vote's going to count, and at the end of the day, we're going to have more votes than Donald Trump.
No, you're not. All right. So that's Jen O'Malley, and she goes through, and then they brought out this woman. Her name is Dana Remus, and I'll spare us the actual playing of the video, but I did watch it. She was out here talking about voting is safe and secure, and do you have any problems, let us know. But the DNC's got lawyers everywhere, and we know they do because we're covering it all here, watching their lawsuit one after another. Once again, here is Mark Halperin, and he had some inside knowledge on what's cooking over there in Wisconsin, and saying she's in trouble over there.
Okay, first of all, revelation for me today regarding the battleground states. It remains the base case that Vice President Harris is unlikely to win, according to my sources in both parties. Not sure thing, but unlikely to win Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona. If she doesn't win those 3 states, she must sweep Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. As forecast here a long time ago, it appears that she's basically back to where Joe Biden was on the eve of the debate. One electoral college path to exactly 270 electoral votes. So our intense focus for the rest of the way will be to continue to monitor to see whether she can actually win North Carolina, Georgia, or Arizona. Does not appear to my sources now that she will. Can she win the 3 Great Lakes states? And the focus has been on Pennsylvania. Here, on this platform, we did a 2-hour show called It's All About Pennsylvania. And what I'm here to tell you tonight, based on my reporting with Democrats and Republicans nationally and in both those states, that it could be that Kamala Harris wins Pennsylvania but loses the White House because she loses Wisconsin. Michigan remains a bit of a puzzle. Both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are doing dueling rallies near each other in Wisconsin tonight. Fitting, as far as I'm concerned, for my reporting, because as I said, my reporting is that she's in trouble in Wisconsin. This This is based on 3 sources, 2 Republicans, 1 Democrat, all of whom know the state quite well, and all of whom told me today the same version of they would be somewhere between surprised and shocked if Kamala Harris won Wisconsin.
Wow.
Okay? Doesn't mean she's not going to. All I'm telling you is to reorient yourself away from news framing that says it's all about Pennsylvania. The winner of Pennsylvania will win this election. That's become kind of a mantra. The winner of Pennsylvania will win. I'm here to tell you, she may well win Pennsylvania and win the election, but she could win the Pennsylvania and lose the election because she doesn't win Wisconsin. Watch Wisconsin. Washington Post poll today of Pennsylvania, 48-47 Harris within the margin of error. On message, a Republican firm did some polling. Put that tweet up, please. It's a Republican firm, but they're very good pollsters. Alex Castellanos can testify to that. Very friendly with them. You put that up, poll tweet.
Don't think they have that one. Okay, so anyways, good numbers there in Wisconsin. We'll keep our eye on it, but as Democrats confirm for us, things are looking scary.